So if you're at that jumping off point, that place where you don't know, you want to use, but you don't want to use. You have that craving, that feeling of that it's inevitable that you're going to use. I've been there, and the best thing you can do is like I said a minute ago, is stay in right here, right now, and pray. The big book teaches us to do some certain steps. And I would suggest that you get a sponsor. I highly suggest you get a sponsor that can walk you through the steps, that's got some sobriety behind him, and he's got some success. A lot of people in life will tell you things, and they will say things to you, but what you have to look at is what their feet are doing. And by what I mean by that is, are they actually walking the walk and talking the talk? Are they going to meetings? Are they giving back? For me, the number one thing is step 12. So step 12 takes us to continuing working with others. And so for me, it's vitally important to work with other alcoholics and drug addicts that are just like me. So I go to places like the Exodus House on Monday nights. I go to the Jesus House on Wednesday nights. I go to my dedicated meetings, which is Friday night at Mustard Seed and Saturday morning at the 2 Early 2. And I do that because at the end of the day, I'm a selfish person. I'm a selfish, self-centered, self-seeking person. And it was a very long time until I figured out that me helping you actually helped me. And you might think that's bad, but at the end of the day, the big book tells you that we get to keep sobriety we have by giving it away. You have to give it away. If you keep it, it's like, it was explained to me like the Dead Sea. So the Dead Sea has the River Jordan flowing into it, but it has nothing flowing out of it. So consider that like the Spirit of God, or the power greater than yourself, the Spirit that's flowing in you, that's taking that obsession of the mind, that allergy of the body from you, and you not giving back. You become like the Dead Sea. You're dead. You give nothing back. So you have to give back. It says that in the big book, it talks about it's vitally important with that work with others keeps us sober when we find that nothing else will. So no matter what you're going through at this moment, no matter what you're thinking about at this moment, if you can just reach out to somebody else, whether it's to open the door for them, whether it's to tell them they look nice, or have a nice day, or just get outside of yourself. You find when you think of others and you don't think of yourself, like when I try to help other people with their problems, my problems seem to get solved on their own. It's amazing how it works. So working with others is vitally important. But for those that are stuck right here and right now and that want to use or thinking about using, you need to stay in the moment. You need to pray. You need to rely on that power greater than yourself and quit relying on yourself. God is out there, and God is a loving God. I used to think just the opposite. When I got in Alcoholics Anonymous, I was scared because they told me I had two options. They told me that I could continue on to the bitter end and keep getting what I was getting. And what that means is I could keep using drugs and alcohol and keep getting the same things I got over and over. Or part two was I could have a spiritual experience. And a spiritual experience scared the living crap out of me. I was a criminal. I was a drug dealer. I was a drug addict. I'd done many wrong things. I'd hurt many people. I'd stolen. I'd thieved. You name it. And so I thought God was going to be vengeful to me. I was in prison for 11 calendars and thought God was out to get me. And so my thoughts of a God that was loving, that was going to forgive me, I was scared. And to have a spiritual experience, that was even more scary to me. And so it wasn't until I came to Alcoholics Anonymous and realized that spirituality and religion are not the same thing. And that God is a loving, caring, forgiving God, that he's given us a new covenant, different from the old one, and that through him I can do anything. But it's through him, and I have to do some things. I have to give back. I have to get up off of my butt. I can't get it by osmosis. I can't get it by sitting in a pew. I can't get it by reading a book and getting the knowledge. A lot of people think, oh, I get this knowledge about my addiction or my alcoholism, I'm good. The most frightening thing I've seen, I've sponsored at least 50 or 60 guys. The number one thing I see is guys will go through it, they'll do their first, second, third, fourth, fifth step, and then they get everything off their chest. They've cleared the wreckage of their past, which is the fourth and the fifth step, and then they've admitted to God, to another human being, the exact nature of their wrongs, and then they forget to give back. They forget to go do their amends, or they just don't do it. They have the I got this-itis. So they get a vocation, they get a job, and they start getting money in their pocket. So their life naturally gets better. Then they get a car and they get mobile, and their life naturally gets better just from not using. Then they get a girlfriend and their life seems even better, and they forget that going to church and going to AA and being spiritual and praying, they forget to do those base things, the simple things. And when they do that, man, I've seen so many of them just fall, and they're like, Jay, what did I do? And I'm like, man, for one, you quit going to meetings, you quit going to church, you quit calling your sponsor, who was me, you lived through your girlfriend, or you lived through your job, and you took that as your, I mean, we're more than our job, we're more than our wife or our spouse, we're more than our home, we're more than anything we own. We're God's, and if you don't get back to him, and you forget, that's not a good thing. So, for all those people in the Exodus house, I tell you this every Monday night, for the same people in Jesus, I tell you this, when you get out, life is going to come at you. It's going to come at you full force. And right now with this coronavirus, it's going to come real full force, because you're going to be in your head a lot. If you're at home by yourself or around very few people, you're going to have thoughts in your head, and it's going to come at you, and he's going to come at you in many different ways. But you have to rely on a power greater than yourself rather than relying on yourself. And the best thing I can tell you to do is read your big book. I read my big book and my bigger book, which I call the Bible, on a daily basis. And I find that when I do that and I take action, because you got to take action. Faith without works is dead. I can have all the faith in the world, but if I do nothing about it, it's dead. It doesn't do anything. So if I don't give back to other alcoholics and drug addicts, man, I'm in trouble. I go back to the old way. I forget, My mind tells me, and my addiction tells me, it doesn't remember all the bad. It remembers that one or two times where I had a lot of money, I had a lot of dope, I was in the motel and everything was great. I forget all that stuff about losing my wife, my kid, my house, my business, being locked up for 11 years. And my addiction tells me, it'll be different this time. I can do it different this time. And you know what? It never is. It never is. And your mind's going to be telling you that too. Your mind's going to say, you can do it this time. You don't worry about it. Nobody's going to know. You're going to know. God's going to know. And that's about what I got.